In recent years, there's been a high request in the video game community: college sports, but more specifically, college football. Unfortunately, there has been no National Collegiate Athletics Association, or the NCAA, game since 2014 for legal reasons of the game using the players' images and the players seeing no money made from those video games. There's been a couple of cases, Ed O'Bannon being the most prominent. The U.S. District Court Judge Claudia Wilkins ruled in 2014 that the NCAA amateurism rules violate federal antitrust laws, and players were entitled to $5,000 per year for their image and likeness. Another case of Jenkins versus the NCAA directly attacks the NCAA rules limiting pay of athletes to cost of attendance. Since these cases, there has been no more NCAA football games. Darren Rovell, a senior writer for ESPN, wrote an article on the controversy back in 2013. He said, although the video games did not use their names, the former college athletes alleged EA Sports used the same jersey numbers, heights, weights, skin tones, hair colors, and home states in their in-game bios, not only without their permission, but without compensation. The video game company went as far as to create players with their in-game home state bios, but did not want to put their names next to it for legal reasons. Steve Berman, a managing partner of the law firm Haggins Berman, served as the co-lead counsel in a class action lawsuit brought by the players. Berman acknowledged to ESPN.com that a settlement had been reached, although the specific terms would remain confidential. Berman also said negotiations had started, and in July, a U.S. District Court made the decision EA Sports could not use the First Amendment defense of freedom of speech. After the sides met with the mediator, they put the finishing touches on a settlement which Berman stated will include between 200,000 and 300,000 former college football players whose likenesses were used in one of many NCAA football games from 2001 to 2014. Berman would go on to say the only settlement will provide ex-players with something substantive, and a list of players with their correct addresses will be compiled in hopes that once the court approves the settlement and the money is paid out, players can get these checks sent to their current residences instead of having to claim the money in person. Reminder, this was back in 2013 and 2014, and as I mentioned, there has been a high request in the video game in recent years. Fast forward to October 1st, 2019. New York Times writer Alan Binder put a story on the possibility of college athletes in California getting paid for their images. It has been a bedrock principle behind college sports. Student athletes should not get paid beyond the cost of attending a university. California threatened that standard after Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill to allow athletes to strike endorsement deals and hire agents. The new law, which is supposed to take place in 2023, attacks the NCAA's long-held philosophy directly that college athletes should earn a degree, not money for playing sports. That view, also under assault in several other states on Capitol Hill, has held up even as the college sports industry gathered a behemoth of money that generated $14 billion last year. And as athletes face mounting demands on their bodies, their schedules, those athletes did not see any of the money given back to them. Under the California measures, thousands of student athletes in America's most populous states will be allowed to promote products and companies, trading on their own sports renown for the first time. And although the law applies to only California as of right now, it sets up the possibility that leaders in college sports will eventually have to choose between changing the rules for athletes nationwide or bearing some of America's sports powerhouses from the competition. Not even a full month later, on October 29th, National Public Radio put out an article titled, NCAA plans to allow college athletes to get paid for use of their name and images. Writer for the National Public Radio, Colin Dyer, said in a surprise move, the NCAA says it intends to allow college athletes to earn compensation, but it says it's only starting to work out the details of how it is going to take place. The organization's board of governors said they had voted unanimously to permit student athletes to benefit from the use of their names, images, and likenesses. We must embrace change to provide the best possible experience for college athletes, said Michael Drake, the NCAA board chair, who is also the president for Ohio State University. In a statement, Drake stressed the need for additional flexibility in the NCAA's approach. The NCAA said its decision followed the input over the past few months from current and former student athletes, coaches, presidents, faculty, and commissioners across all three divisions of sports at the collegiate level, being Division 1, 2, and 3. Now, just imagine if you have kids, and their dream is to grow up and play sports professionally. And when they get to college, they're just being used and taken advantage of to bring in fans and money. Now, imagine your child doesn't get to see any of that money. Remember, the NCAA made $14 billion last year, and not a single dollar went to college athletes. $14 billion.